at the depot. I want to thank Councilmember Harkey for joining in that meeting. I know the mayor was sick that morning, but I want to thank you for coming and bringing your concerns. These are a continuation of concerns that I've raised, particularly involving, and while the ordinance appears to be close, I think it is a good idea to make sure that we have a good, solid, enforceable ordinance. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that property owners, that you do those trespass letters for the police, because if this ordinance passes and then the person's sleeping on private property, we're not going to be able to enforce it. So you as a tenant or the person in control, obvious control of the property, can do that. And I think that's critical. I'm sorry that your businesses have been negatively affected. We have citizens, I hear it almost weekly in East Marion. I go to church there, I live there. They're being victimized by the plight of the situation. It's most people who are unhoused, homeless, whichever term you're wishing to use, they're good people. But there's a small fraction that suffers from mental illness or other, they want to be homeless because they're engaged in activity that is not becoming of a good citizen. And I understand that, and we have to address that. We have to address it. And unfortunately, you know, I was just sitting here looking at the police numbers, and I think it's really important for you to know that in the month of September, the chief reports that they have arrested 70 people, and 28 of those were unhoused or homeless individuals. The 28 arrests were a wide variety of things, from trespassing up to breaking and entering. So the police department is really, you know, bottlenecked with those calls too. And not that that's an excuse for any of the behavior that gets passed, but it's my intent to make sure that we also look at if the police department needs another officer. I've done some preliminary research, and I think it's completely feasible for us to hire an officer to focus on this issue solely in the downtown area, which we've got the recruitment issue of the police department's 4 people short. This would add a 5th one, and I understand that, but we have to do something, and we have to address this. And I want you to know that before I leave this council, there will be a motion on the floor if I have to do it alone, individually, to make sure that an ordinance is presented to be passed. And I'm sure my colleagues will join in. I don't want to speak for them, to make sure that we handle this. But I also think maybe it's time for us to focus some money on enforcement in that area of adding people to assist the police department, the police chief in doing that, and adding a staff member. That's my personal comments. I appreciate everything you're doing, and I know it's hard to come out and try to stand up for protecting whenever it's a very heartfelt situation. And I told you my personal story in the meeting. It's not for, you know, not that I'm hiding it, but sometimes, you know, it's just a tough situation for all families.